Welcome to Season 3 of E-Commerce Fastlane, Episode 87.
Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
This episode is brought to you by Omnisend, makers of sophisticated omni-channel marketing automation tools for sales-driven Shopify brands and marketers that have outgrown generic email marketing platforms. Engage your customers and boost your e-commerce sales with dynamic emails, text messages, web push notifications, Facebook Messenger, and retargeting ads on Google and Facebook. So it's much more than just email marketing. They handle all of your marketing activities across multiple channels, all from within one platform. They have single-click Shopify integration, which also includes email templates and automatic product import from Shopify. Super easy migration from any other email solution that you might be currently using. And right now, Omnisend is offering a 14-day free trial for all of my listeners, which also includes 50% off for the first 3 months. So check them out, ecommercefastlane.com/Omnisend, and use the coupon code FASTLANE when you sign up. Hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. Now, if this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. New episodes are available each week with your favorite podcast player through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Or you can also sign up online at ecommercefastlane.com and be notified when a new show is being released. My guest on today's episode is Bruce Watanabe, and he's the CEO from PowerBuy, and he's here to talk about the PowerBuy concept, as well as their brand new PowerBuy SaaS app that has now just been released in the Shopify App Store. And really, it does help merchants earn more money, potentially go viral, and decrease these advertising costs, these customer acquisition costs that are really eating away at profits, and really without any development and very little cost. So it's an exciting show. Excited you're here. So let's dig in and learn more. So hi, Bruce. Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane.
Thank you.
So let's talk on a high level. I mentioned it a little bit at the top of the show here, but what does the PowerBuy concept do? Like, what is it all about, and what sort of problem are you aiming to solve for Shopify brands?
Well, I wanted to first thank you, Steve, for having me on the show, and thank you to all that are tuning in as well. I would like to first announce that our app was officially released earlier this week on Shopify, so I'm very excited to share our story, as well as the details about the PowerBuy with everyone on the podcast today. So what does PowerBuy mean for you as a Shopify merchant? 3 things: save money, sell more, and reach more customers. I know that sounds like a marketing gimmick, but the PowerBuy does provide true value to both the merchants like yourselves as well as your customers. And we're able to prove that on our own marketplace, which I'll go into further details. And before I get into the PowerBuy app on Shopify, Steve, I wanted to first talk briefly about the PowerBuy concept in general and the history behind it. Now, the PowerBuy, which is patent pending, brings a concept of crowdsourcing and e-commerce together and provides true value to both the consumers and merchants, as I had mentioned earlier. Now, for the merchants, PowerBuy is ideal for those merchants that either have excess inventory and want to move a product very quickly, or simply want to introduce a new product line and are willing to give a volume discount. Also, with the PowerBuy, merchants are able to reach new customers that they were able to reach previously without spending a lot of money on third-party marketing channels. And we've seen PowerBuys on our own marketplace go all the way past 4 degrees of separation on social media, with conversions happening at every single degree. Now, for your consumers, they typically spend, as you know, hours and hours on the internet searching for the best possible price for a single quantity purchase. And with PowerBuy, they're always getting the best possible price, as the PowerBuy price will always be cheaper than the buy now price, since it is based on a volume discount. And once they start sharing that PowerBuy, they're able to share it with those friends and family that typically share the same interests and hobbies, which further reduces that time that people spend searching for that right product at the right price. Since proving and the PowerBuy concept to merchants has always been our vision, which I'll expand upon later, we wanted to first prove the PowerBuy concept on our own marketplace. And not only did we prove the concept, where we went from $311,000 in GMV in 2017 when we launched in April to over $4.7 million in 2018. And more importantly, we generated $4.8 million in just Q2 alone in 2019, which allowed us to be a year ahead of schedule and move on to the development of our new Shopify app in August of that year. So when we designed our new Shopify app, which was released earlier last week, we built it with a few things in mind. Number one, we wanted to take minimal real estate on your existing product detail page. Number two, we wanted to make it very easy for you to download. Number three, we wanted to make it very easy to integrate with your existing catalog with no development or IT expertise required, as you mentioned, Steve, earlier. And most importantly, we wanted to make it very, very affordable. So what is the PowerBuy app? First, when you download our app on Shopify, you'll be able to sync your existing catalog with PowerBuy and start configuring the PowerBuys for your own products. You'll also be able to configure the look and feel of your PowerBuy button using our own things, or you can completely customize it yourself. And after configuration, you'll see that the PowerBuy button will be located right below the Buy Now or Add to Cart button, and that's it. And once you go live, those products that you have enabled PowerBuy for, what you'll notice is that a lot of your customers will gravitate towards the PowerBuy, as the price will always be lower than the Buy Now price. And with a single click of a few buttons, they can share that deal with all their friends and family via Facebook, WhatsApp, text message, Messenger, etc. And one of the true values that you'll notice is that once that PowerBuy is shared with amongst your consumers, you will have just reached a customer that was outside of your existing customer base, and you did not spend any money on third-party marketing channels or internet advertisement. And as I mentioned before, we've seen PowerBuys shared across multiple degrees of separation on social media, with conversions happening at every single degree on our own marketplace, as I mentioned earlier.
So it sounds a little bit like the customer acquisition cost, as everybody knows, keeps rising. And so you're suggesting now with PowerBuys is that you'll have a buy now button. So the price, let's say the product is $49, but there could be a PowerBuy set up for 38 and change. Maybe they're, based on the volume and the number of people, I'm assuming there's some kind of dynamicness of the pricing structure that's built into it. As more
Correct.
people see value in wanting to pull the trigger and buy it, the price is dynamically changing as it goes. And I guess there's a cutoff point that this offer is done. People commit to it, and then I guess they're redirected to a link to buy it based on this new lower price point. And so it's interesting that then from there, they're able to then reshare this opportunity. And I guess there would be a cutoff point, and then everybody combined together is able to get the discount, and then the volume is the benefit that the retailer gets.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. And you can either do it two ways. You can basically set the tiers and discount levels at the merchant level. So the merchant are able to manually configure the PowerBuys themselves, or we can automatically or dynamically create the PowerBuys where the buyers are able to create the PowerBuys themselves. And then the profit margin parameters are set forward by the merchants at the global level.
I see. Okay, very cool. So let's dig into your journey and co-founder's journey. I'm always interested the whole concept of how people think of these solutions to really help Shopify brands. So are you able to share what you believe is kind of uniquely positions you and the founding team? I guess number one, to have the desire, and number two, to have the expertise to even want to create this platform.
Absolutely, Steve. And thank you for asking. Actually, this is my fourth venture. And I was fortunate enough to sell 2 out of the 4. And my current focus is obviously the PowerBuy. Now, the PowerBuy concept was actually started in my previous venture, which was one of the companies I sold back in 2016. And at the time, we were a global systems integration company specializing in cloud, web, mobile, and AI-based technologies. So I was at one stage on the other side of the coin, per se, building a lot of CRM e-commerce properties for a number of Fortune 500s and above. And at the time, the company spanned across 4 continents with 500 plus employees worldwide. And my current co-founder and CTO of PowerBuy, Tu Trong, was also my CTO at my previous company. And she came to us with over 25, 26 plus years of experience in e-commerce. And she always had this idea about PowerBuy, combining the concept of e-commerce and crowdsourcing, but never had the resources or the funding capabilities to move her vision forward. So when she presented the idea back in 2015 to myself, we obviously had the resources and the funding capabilities to make this happen. So we kickstarted it as an internal project back in 2015 and spent the next 2 years in R&D and product development. And in December 2016, right before the acquisition, I was able to negotiate out the assets of PowerBuy, raised over $1 million in seed funding. We went live with PowerBuy on our own marketplace in April 2017, and then we took off from there.
Awesome story. So let's talk about how the PowerBuy solution, how it's actually implemented on a Shopify store. Are you able to walk us through? Is it just like a button that just magically appears? I'm just curious to see how the Shopify app connects and then what people can expect to happen to make this all work.
Yeah, it's actually a button that magically appears. And then when we built the PowerBuy app when we originally built the PowerBuy app with simplicity and ease of use in mind. So when you download our app, the first thing that you'll need to do is configure your PowerBuy experience, starting with the button design and then syncing your existing catalog to PowerBuy, which is automatic and very easy to do. And once you've completed setting up your PowerBuy experience, you will then start setting up the actual PowerBuys itself in terms of pricing, the minimum quantity to complete the PowerBuy, as well as the various tiers that you want your PowerBuy to have. Very easy setup, very easy deployment. And there's also a step-by-step window that will show you exactly what you will need to do throughout the entire setup process. So it's very seamless for the merchants. And once that setup process is complete, the PowerBuy button, as you mentioned, Steve, earlier, will show up magically on your product detail page right below your add to cart or buy now button, and which takes minimal real estate on your existing product detail page. There will also be a drop down so that when you hover over the PowerBuy button, it will reveal the pricing tiers, the quantity needed for each tier, the timer to when the deal will end, and the PowerBuy history. So it is very intuitive and clear for your customer.
Okay, great. So I understand that now. So it sounds like adding the app, styling the button, and then get the offer together and the tiers and whatnot, and getting all that organized. So that's excellent. One side question I have is regarding which products you can select. So you're saying that PowerBuy imports the full product catalog in Shopify, but then I guess as the merchant, you can make decisions about which ones you want the PowerBuy to be revealed.
That is correct. So when you sync your existing catalog and you log on to your Shopify seller portal, you'll see all the different products that are synced to PowerBuy, and you can manually go into each of the PowerBuy and create the different PowerBuys yourself based on tiers, the volume pricing, the duration of the PowerBuy, etc. But we're also going to be releasing what we call the buyer-initiated PowerBuy. So these are PowerBuys that you did not have time to create the PowerBuys manually. So what we'll do is the buyers can go into each product detail page that hasn't had a PowerBuy setup, and they can initiate the PowerBuys themselves. And then what the merchant needs to do is obviously set up the profit or margin parameters. So as long as the profit margin parameters are set up at the global level or at the product level, our PowerBuy technology will be able to basically create different tiers, do demand sensing, and basically monitor the PowerBuys on behalf of the merchants.
So it sounds like the app, it's kind of a self-serve model. Like so the onboarding sequence seems to be very straightforward for most people, but are you able to offer any extra support for those that may require it?
Absolutely. So once a merchant installs our app, our PowerBuy specialists are available to not only guide them through the installation and setup process, but also guide them with best practices on how to maximize the PowerBuy experience. So all of our specialists have extensive experience with PowerBuy since they were on the original team that helped our marketplace go viral and helped achieve their exponential growth, as I mentioned earlier, with GMV and viral growth, etc. And they will proactively reach out to you. So when you download the app, you'll notice that our PowerBuy specialists will be basically reaching out to you. So I highly recommend you picking up the phone or you responding to the email because it will help maximize your PowerBuy experience and get you set up for success.
That's awesome. I appreciate that because I think that's some of the challenges. I think when people get started with a new solution that they believe, a new channel or a new tactics, new strategy that can help them, I feel sometimes just having only a self-serve model sometimes it helps avoid churn, I would say, by having a little bit of a white glove type service that's required, I think, for those that need it. And they want to make sure that's configured correctly. It's awesome that you have that option available more than just a self-serve option. So let's talk about maybe the ultimate vision of PowerBuy. I mean, I understand the concept. I know it's working. And let's maybe pivot a bit into how you're able to prove also. So I want to hear about your vision for PowerBuy, and then I'd like to hear more about your actual marketplace and how you're able to, I guess, prove the validity that in fact PowerBuys actually work.
So when we launched PowerBuy, we wanted to first prove the PowerBuy concept. So that's why we created the marketplace back in 2017. And obviously we were able to prove it. So therefore we moved on to development of the Shopify app for PowerBuy. But most important, our ultimate vision is we established PowerBuy to help small to medium-sized businesses with the ability to compete with the larger enterprises. And by leveraging PowerBuy, we help these merchants grow organically. We help them go viral. And we help them make more money, all without breaking the bank or investing in huge marketing expenses. Right. But our overall vision, Steve, is to bring together as many merchants through PowerBuy and ultimately create an ecosystem of PowerBuy merchants where we can directly connect the shoppers or consumers and merchants and enable them to help and work together. Later this year, we're planning to introduce a new service offering called PowerBuy Plus. PowerBuy Plus leverages AI and ML technologies that we've been developing over the past couple of years on our own marketplace, which will allow merchants to cross-promote their catalogs across the entire PowerBuy merchant ecosystem. Ultimately, we want each of these merchants to become mini marketplaces and affiliates where they can earn a commission for selling other merchants' products and vice versa, all through a single checkout and shopping cart experience. So we'll be providing more details regarding PowerBuy Plus later this year. So everyone, please stay tuned.
And then can we dig into, I guess, Mass Genie as a brand and what Mass Genie is all about as it relates to PowerBuy?
So Mass Genie is a marketplace similar to all the other third-party marketplaces out there. The only difference is we have both the Buy Now and PowerBuy. And we launched, as I mentioned earlier, Steve, PowerBuy on massgenie.com to prove the concept and basically enable these merchants to sell and get access to the PowerBuy concept on our own marketplace. And then once we were able to do that, Steve, we wanted to give the PowerBuy concept and the technology over to the hands of merchants and let the merchants take advantage of the PowerBuy. So we're going to continue to go live with massgenie.com. But as I mentioned, our ultimate vision is to basically help these small to medium-sized merchants. They can continue to sell on massgenie.com, but our ultimate vision is to basically give that technology and the concept over to the hands of merchants.
I see. So proof of concept with your own technology through your own marketplace, but then knowing how popular it is and how well it is working, it only makes sense with 1 million or more Shopify brands selling on Shopify to be able to have access to this platform to then have this second button pop up on select SKUs or lots of SKUs, set it all up accordingly, a little bit of hand holding as needed and or a self-serve model, and then testing it out and seeing we can get lots of people buying instead of maybe one-offs based on the cost per acquisition now. I just love the idea of like, hey, if something was 49 and now it's 38 because 27 people have chosen to buy it, that's very compelling to have that sort of volume and that net profit instead of maybe just the one-off. And then you get the virality effect of being able to reshare and other people may like the same product. It's just an interesting concept.
Correct. And at the end of the day, you're leveraging your existing customer base to become the marketing engine, marketing vehicle for you. And as I mentioned earlier, we've seen power deals get shared across 4 degrees of separation on social media. And to get 4 degrees of separation in the past, I mean, you need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to reach those customers, right, across social media. So we're able to do that organically through our own marketplace.
So let's talk about the customers that you do have. And I'm sure you can appreciate those that are listening today. There's a pretty diverse range. We have some early stage kind of side hustlers doing their thing and lots of people in the mid-market and then a bunch of people listening that are more in the enterprise Shopify Plus side. So if you're to get some advice today for people that are in the early stage, they see an opportunity and they are selling on Shopify and they're starting to get some traction. What sort of things do you believe that they should be working on? Maybe just as it relates to entrepreneurship in general or marketing or even your own tool?
Well, since building and growing 4 companies over the past decade or so, I clearly understand the amount of time and resources and money that it typically takes to grow a company from scratch and things that a small merchant or business typically does not have access to. And this is one of the reasons why we've developed the PowerBuy. so we can give these small to medium-sized businesses a chance and opportunity to compete with the big players. And most importantly, with PowerBuy Plus, we will further accelerate the value that we can bring to these merchants, enable them to work together in collaboration to help drive growth and revenue with each other, rather than spending money on third-party marketing channels or selling on third-party marketplaces.
Yeah, I'm excited for that opportunity in the future because I always have conversations with brands and, they may have a selection of product and then all of a sudden they're kind of flatlining a bit as far as their revenue growth. So they're forced to have to break into new verticals as part of their same brand or similar verticals or complementary verticals. And they're forced to figure out, well, what should I add on as complementary to my current product mix? So it sounds like you have something brewing right now with PowerBuy Plus. So I'll make sure that we update the show notes when that feature is available. So I think that's exciting to be able to branch out outside of what you're currently starting to do well on or have started to scale on. Can you break out into other competing verticals and have access to others and I think it's great that PowerBuy is going to, I guess, unify all that together as an opportunity.
Correct. It'll just pretty much set the foundation for us to launch PowerBuy Plus in the near future.
Now, what about those that are listening today, like I mentioned, that would be more in the mid-market to enterprise? So they would have a small team. They're definitely eager to grow and scale. What do you believe that the executive team or the marketing team, what should they be working on?
Now, with PowerBuy, regardless of the size of your business, you'll be able to reach more customers that you never had access to. So as long as you have a great product and willing to give a nominal discount based on volume deals, PowerBuy will bring value to any business regardless of the size. Even on our own marketplace, we had small merchants with a couple hundred SKUs to large size merchants with a couple million SKUs. And we developed PowerBuy to be very easy to use, doesn't require any additional development or cost. There's very little risk of deploying the PowerBuy, whether you're a small merchant, as I mentioned, with a couple hundred SKUs, or a large merchant with 5 million SKUs. PowerBuy will work for any size company.
Yeah, it almost seems like a no-brainer to just test this out because it's very clear on your own marketplace with your own technology that it worked, and it worked well, very well, way ahead of schedule, more than you anticipated.
A year ahead of schedule.
A year ahead of schedule. So that's awesome. And then now you're giving access to that tech to the Shopify ecosystem. So I think that's amazing. So let's talk about the future. I mean, you mentioned about the PowerBuy Plus, and that's interesting that that's coming along. Are you able to share any of the roadmap, any North Stars that you're thinking of for 2020?
Absolutely. And great question, Steve. So as I mentioned earlier, our ultimate vision is to bring as many merchants together to create what we're going to call the PowerBuy merchant ecosystem. Our short-term objective today is to drive as many merchants into our ecosystem through our Shopify app. And as a result, we can then launch PowerBuy Plus, where merchants or Shopify merchants will ultimately become mini marketplaces and affiliates that drive business amongst each other. Currently, we're also opening this up to strategic partners, such as agencies, Shopify Plus partners, development companies, and payment processors who have a list of e-commerce merchants that are interested in adding PowerBuy as a value-added service. So if you do have any interest, for those of you who are listening in, please feel free to contact our PowerBuy specialist as soon as possible.
That sounds good. I'll make sure I update that in the show notes with any links internally and into your organization for those that are in the agency world, development world, because I think this is another value add that you could add to your merchants that you're building their websites through Shopify to offer, hey, have you thought about PowerBuy? Oh, what's that? And then from there, the dialogue starts. So it's interesting. Really cool that you're offering that service. So we are nearing the end of the show for today. Do you have any closing comments or any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Absolutely. And I wanted to first thank you, Steve, for allowing me to talk about the PowerBuy experience and the history behind PowerBuy, as well as our new app on Shopify. And on a final note, since PowerBuy Plus will be hugely dependent on the number of merchants that are part of our ecosystem, I highly encourage everyone to download our PowerBuy app on Shopify, which is on the sales channel marketplace, and see how PowerBuy can help you save money, sell more, and reach more customers risk-free. Thanks again, Steve, and thank you to everyone who tuned in today, and we look forward to having you as part of our PowerBuy family.
Beautiful. So how can people go and learn more about PowerBuy, the website or the App Store? Can you share some details?
Obviously, the Shopify App Store, so we're live as of last week. The app is called PowerBuy. And then we also have a website called powerbuy.ai. So if you go to PowerBuy.ai, you will be able to see all the details about PowerBuy as well as a link to the Shopify app for PowerBuy.
And I know we chatted offline before recording, and you were so kind to offer a listener-only promotion. Are you able to share some of those details?
Yes. So right now we have 4 package types that's going to be available on Shopify. And it all depends on the number of SKUs as well as the commission amount. And right now we are offering a 30-day free trial for any package type so that everyone can get a glimpse of how they can leverage the PowerBuy and sell more, earn more, and reach more customers.
Awesome. So what I'll do is I will create a pretty link. So it'll be ecommercefastlane.com/PowerBuys, and that will redirect. So this will be in the show notes, but that will redirect to a landing page to discuss this particular offer for listeners today. And, I highly recommend. It's an opportunity that you'd likely have never heard of. So I implore those that are listening today, it's at least worth a test to add the app, select a couple SKUs, and set up the volume discounts that are reasonable based on your gross margin and the volume that could come out of that. And it's certainly worth a test to try it out. And then I think you'll be very confident to see that the increased revenue that will come, even though your margin will be lower, you're actually driving more net new visitors to your site. And then you have the opportunity for a second sale and a third sale and then becoming these lifetime loyalists, because that's always the problem. Typically in a marketing funnel is the initial customer acquisition costs are typically quite high at the beginning, but then you have the opportunity over time to create these advocates and these loyal customers, this lifetime value that I talk about so much on the show. I think using a tool like this is it's worth a test to try it out. So please do that. Bruce, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing this amazing opportunity with our listeners today.
Thank you very much as well, Steve.
This episode was brought to you by OmniSend, makers of sophisticated omni-channel marketing automation tools for sales-driven Shopify brands that have outgrown generic email marketing platforms. Engage your customers and boost your e-commerce sales with dynamic emails, text messages, web push notifications, Facebook Messenger, and retargeting ads on Facebook and Google, all from one platform. Try OmniSend for free for 14 days. Check them out, ecommercefastlane.com/OmniSend, and use the coupon code FASTLANE when you sign up. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.